Is he kidding? He must be speaking in jest, because if there's anything that abounds in historical and geographical inaccuracies, it's the Bible. I would challenge anyone to prove that the Apocrypha is less reliable in this regard than the books that are in the Bible itself. On page 124 in the book entitled 99 Questions People Ask Most About the Bible, apologist Don Stewart gives another reason for their exclusion. Quote, "The primary reason for not accepting the Apocrypha as Scripture is that there is no claim within the books that they are divinely inspired, that they are inspired by God. This is in contrast to the Scriptures, which claim to record the revelation of God." Unquote. Well, that too is ridiculous, because the book of Esther doesn't even mention God. Why is it in the Bible? Another reason given by Stewart for the Apocrypha's exclusion from the Bible is that it contains demonstrable errors. The Apocrypha contains errors. Imagine anyone alleging the Apocrypha contains errors as if the Bible did not. His argument is worthless, and over 12 years of our publication have proven as much. On page 47 in the book entitled Jesus Christ, Man or Myth, another apologist by the name of Blakelock provides yet another excuse for the Apocrypha's exclusion from the Bible by referring to what he calls, quote, "the wildly extravagant stories found in the so-called apocryphal Gospels." Wildly extravagant? If there is any book that is full of wildly extravagant stories, it's the Bible. The miracles alone are about as extravagant as anyone could concoct or imagine. Talking serpents and donkeys, sticks turning into snakes, people turning into pillars of salt, others rising from the dead, water turning into blood. How much more incredible can things get? Anyone who will believe in those events, anyone who will believe in events as preposterous as these will believe in anything. Nothing is too absurd. Extravagance would be a ridiculous reason for keeping the Apocrypha out of the Bible. Returning to Bacale, we note that on page 77 he states, quote, "Apologetic authors of works criticizing the Apocrypha quote with obvious satisfaction passages which are literally ridiculous," unquote, even though the word ridiculous could easily apply to much of the Bible. Bacale provides evidence of biblical extravagance by saying, quote, "Extravagant passages are to be found in all the Gospels. One has only to think of the imaginary description of the events that Matthew claims took place at the time of Jesus' death. It is possible to find passages lacking seriousness in all the early writings of Christianity. One must be honest enough to admit this," unquote. So keeping the apocryphal books out of the Bible because they are full of extravagant claims, ridiculous situations, and popular fantasy is pure nonsense. They were kept out of Scripture because they did not have advocates as powerful as those of the other books. As was stated earlier, religious politics was the prime determinant. To further substantiate the fact that the Bible was put together by votes and political decisions, it would help to quote some additional apologetic sources with reference to the councils that occurred between the years 200 and 500 AD. In a rather large Christian book entitled The Bible Handbook, the author, Ed Blair, correctly observes on page 35, quote, "Church councils at Rome in 382 at Hippo in 393, at Carthage in 397 and 419, fixed the list of books now present in our New Testament, unquote. And in a book entitled Basic Theology, Dallas Theological Seminary professor Charles Ryrie stated the following truth on page 109, quote, "It is generally agreed that this church council," he's referring to the Council of Carthage in 397, "fixed the limits of the New Testament canon as including all 27 books as we have them today," unquote. So the conclusion to be drawn from all we have discussed so far is that the books within the Bible were selected and arranged by a group of people operating according to expediency, personal preference, and religious politics, who, if they were alive today, would be seen as no different from current prominent Judeo-Christian leaders.